Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. The Hollow Earth Theory, Secrets Beneath Our Feet Part 1, A World Beneath Our World. Have you ever looked down at the ground beneath your feet and wondered what's really there? I don't mean rocks and dirt. I mean beneath all that, deeper than any mine, farther than any drill has ever reached. What if I told you there's a theory, one that's been around for centuries, claiming that the Earth isn't solid, but hollow? That somewhere deep below, past the crust, there are vast empty spaces, maybe even an entire world. Yeah, it sounds crazy, but maybe, just maybe, it isn't. Let's go there. Let's talk about the Hollow Earth theory. Now, before we dive headfirst into this rabbit hole, let's get one thing straight. This idea, it's not new. It's not some modern internet myth cooked up in a Reddit thread. No, this goes way back, way before satellites, before NASA, before seismology, before anyone could prove what the inside of the Earth actually looks like. In fact, you'll find stories of inner worlds in cultures all around the globe. The Hopi people speak of emerging from underground after a great catastrophe. Tibetan monks describe a hidden kingdom called Agartha, deep within the earth, filled with peace, light, and ancient knowledge. The Norse believed in Svartalfheim, an entire realm beneath the surface. Even Christianity hints at something below, the underworld, Sheol, hell. Different names, same pattern. So why does this idea keep popping up? Why does humanity across time and continents share this strange belief in something existing inside the earth? Coincidence or collective memory? Let's look at the idea itself. The hollow Earth theory, in its simplest form, suggests that the planet we live on is not completely solid, that somewhere beneath the crust, maybe hundreds of miles down, there are vast empty chambers. Some versions say it's all hollow. Others believe it's layered, with huge caverns, underground oceans, even inner suns. Yeah, you heard that right, inner suns. Imagine a glowing core that lights up an entire hidden world with its own sky, climate, maybe even life. And not just animals or insects. Some believers say there are civilizations down there, ancient, intelligent beings, more advanced than us, maybe even watching us. Sounds like science fiction, right? But here's the thing. Some very smart people believed in this too. Let me introduce you to Edmund Halley. You might know him as the guy behind Halley's Comet, a brilliant astronomer from the 1600s. And he believed the Earth was hollow. He proposed that the Earth was made of concentric spheres, like an onion, and that the inner spheres might even be habitable. He used strange compass readings, variations in the magnetic field, as part of his evidence. Later on, in the 19th century, a man named John Cleves Symmes Jr. became the poster boy for the hollow Earth. He publicly declared that the Earth had enormous openings at the north and south poles, what he called Symmes holes. He even petitioned Congress to fund an expedition to the poles to find the entrances, and people took him seriously, at least for a little while. Now let's talk science. Today, mainstream science tells us the Earth is made of three major layers: the crust, the mantle, the core, both outer and inner. These conclusions come mainly from the way seismic waves travel during earthquakes. Different materials transmit energy differently, so by measuring how those waves move, scientists can guess what's down there. But, and here's the twist, we've never physically been more than about 8 miles down. That's the depth of the deepest hole humans have ever drilled, the Kola super deep borehole in Russia. 8 miles. That's nothing compared to the 3,958-mile radius of Earth. In other words, we've only scratched the surface. The rest, it's educated speculation. Maybe correct, maybe not. And let's not forget, science has been wrong before. Muke slowly builds tension. Let's go back to those ancient stories. Why do so many speak of emerging from below? Why do they describe light sources beneath the ground? Why do sacred texts across the world mention worlds within worlds? Are they metaphors? Sure, but what if they're more than that? What if they're memories? We don't know what happened 10,000 years ago. We don't know what civilizations rose and fell before recorded history. We don't know what's been buried, literally and figuratively, by time. Some say ancient cataclysms forced people underground, that they built cities, systems, entire cultures below the surface to survive. And some of them, maybe they never came back up. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Why is access to the poles so restricted? Why are parts of satellite maps of the Arctic and Antarctic blurred or blacked out? Why did Admiral Richard Byrd, yes, the same famous U.S. Navy officer, write in a lost diary about flying into the Earth at the pole and seeing lush green lands? We'll talk more about that in part 2. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. But for now, let's leave it here. The hollow Earth theory has been called absurd, ridiculous, laughable, but it refuses to go away. Why? Because maybe deep down, something about it feels true. Maybe it's that collective memory. Maybe it's our instinct. Or maybe it's because we've always known, somewhere in our bones, that the greatest mystery isn't out in the stars, it's right beneath our feet. So what do you think? Is the hollow Earth just a story? Or is it a truth we've forgotten? Part 2. Ancient Clues from Forgotten Civilizations. Last time we asked a question. What if the greatest mystery of our world isn't in the stars above, but in the ground beneath our feet? We looked at science, history, and old theories that suggest Earth might not be solid all the way through, that it might be hollow, or at least contain massive, unexplored spaces. Now let's go deeper. Because today, we're talking about something even older than science: legends, myths, oral history. Why do so many ancient civilizations, separated by oceans and centuries, describe entire worlds beneath the surface of the Earth? Coincidence or collective memory? Let's find out. Let's start with the Hopi people of North America. For generations, they've passed down a story of how their ancestors emerged from the underworld after a global catastrophe. They say the earth opened up and allowed them to rise to the surface, and that the old world below still exists. They call it the third world, a place of darkness, survival, and learning. Not hell, not punishment, just underground. And the Hopi aren't alone. Travel halfway across the world to Tibet, and you'll hear stories of Agartha. According to ancient Buddhist and Hindu texts, Agartha is a vast kingdom beneath the surface, filled with enlightened beings and incredible technology. It's peaceful, hidden. Some say it's ruled by a mysterious figure known as the King of the World. And then there's Shambhala, sometimes used interchangeably with Agartha, described as a radiant inner land filled with wisdom, harmony, and light. A place where the laws of nature work differently, a place that can only be reached when you're spiritually ready. These aren't random folk tales. These are core parts of cultural identity. Let's keep going. In ancient Hindu cosmology, there are 7 underworlds, collectively called Patala. These aren't hellish realms. They're beautifully described, filled with jewels, luminous skies, and advanced beings called Nagas. Now pause for a moment. We have Native American tribes in the US, Buddhist monks in Asia, and Hindu sages in India, all describing a vast world beneath our own. Not just holes or caves, but full-fledged cities, lands, entire ecosystems. It gets better. In Greek mythology, we hear about Hades, not just a place of the dead, but a realm below. The gods and monsters of old stories often moved between the surface and the underground. In Norse mythology, there's Svartalfheim, home of the dwarves, filled with magic and metalwork, deep underground. And let's not forget the Christian tradition, which places both hell and heaven outside of normal space, one up, one down. Even the ancient Mesopotamians spoke of a land beneath the earth, ruled by gods who never walked under the sun. Different names, different cultures, same direction, downward, cue eerie ambient music. Now here's the big question. Were these civilizations simply imagining the same things, or remembering the same things? Some researchers, especially in fringe archaeology, suggest these stories are echoes of real events, that ancient cataclysms, asteroids, supervolcanoes, global floods forced people underground, and there in those deep spaces they built refuges, maybe even entire societies. What if Agartha and Shambhala are distant, distorted memories of real underground cities that existed before recorded history? What if the Nagas, the inner gods, the subterranean beings, weren't myths but survivors? It would explain a lot. Like the sudden rise of advanced knowledge in early human civilizations, the almost supernatural architecture of ancient structures, the missing links in our own history. And here's a question no one wants to answer. What if some of them never came back up? Let's talk science for a minute. We know there are massive cave systems on Earth, some of them still being discovered today. The Mammoth Cave system in Kentucky stretches over 400 miles. Vietnam's Sun Dong Cave is so big it has its own jungle and weather system inside. There are sinkholes and underground rivers across China, Brazil, and Mexico. And those are just the parts we've found. Now combine that with satellite scans showing huge voids in Earth's crust, some unexplained, some ignored. In 2017, scientists using muon tomography discovered a previously unknown 100-foot-high chamber inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. So if we can miss something that size in a man-made structure, what else are we missing underground? Here's something that might surprise you. There are modern-day maps, some produced by early military cartographers, that show an opening at the North Pole. Some even show a hole at the South Pole. Now, officially, these are dismissed as errors or outdated projections. But what if they're not? Why is Antarctica so heavily restricted? Why have there been multiple treaties signed by dozens of nations to keep most of it off limits to regular people? What's being protected or hidden? Admiral Richard Byrd, a decorated U.S. Navy pilot, was reportedly part of a post-World War II mission called Operation High Jump. Officially, it was for military training. But rumors persist that Byrd flew past the South Pole and saw something unexpected. A warm land, green hills, strange flying craft. His supposed lost diary describes being taken inside the Earth. He talks about meeting advanced beings, about warnings for humanity. True? Hoax? It depends who you ask. But the legend remains, and that's important. Because real or not, stories that survive like this usually have a reason. So where does this leave us? We have ancient legends from across the world. We have geological mysteries. We have explorers who claim they saw more than ice and rock. And we have a nagging question that won't go away. What's really down there? Could the Earth, our home, hold another world inside it, one we've forgotten or been kept from discovering? Or are these stories just echoes of dreams, fears, and spiritual metaphors? That's up to you to decide. Final pause, music fades into silence. Coming up in part 3, we explore the polar mystery. What exactly did Admiral Byrd see? And why are the North and South Poles the most tightly controlled places on Earth? Stay curious, stay open. Because the deeper we dig, the stranger it gets. Part 3, the polar mystery. What lies at the ends of the Earth? Let's take a trip to the ends of the Earth. The North Pole, the South Pole, two places most people will never visit. Covered in ice, brutally cold, harsh, remote, desolate. But some believe they're hiding something, not just under the snow, but beneath the Earth itself. Entrances, gateways, hidden passages to the inner world. For believers of the hollow Earth theory, the poles are more than just icy wastelands. They're the key. Let's explore why. To begin with, let's talk about a man named Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Not a conspiracy theorist, not a sci-fi writer, a decorated U.S. Navy officer, a war hero, an explorer. In 1926, he became one of the first people to fly over the North Pole. In 1929, he did the same over the South Pole. And in 1946, he was chosen to lead Operation High Jump, a massive military expedition to Antarctica involving 13 ships, 33 aircraft, and over 4,000 troops. Officially, it was for research and training. Unofficially, well, that depends on who you ask, because according to some, Admiral Byrd saw something he wasn't supposed to. Let's go back to the North Pole, 1947. According to a document widely referred to as Byrd's secret diary, he took a solo flight beyond the pole. What he allegedly recorded is strange. He described seeing green land where there should have been ice, lakes, vegetation, even animals, including what he believed were mammoths. He said his instruments malfunctioned. He claimed he was guided by strange flying crafts into a massive opening in the earth. Inside, he was greeted by a race of tall, advanced beings. They told him humanity was on a dangerous path, and they wanted to warn us before it was too late. They called their world the Inner Earth. Sound unbelievable? Sure. It's hard to verify. There's no official copy of this secret diary. The U.S. government never acknowledged it, and most historians dismiss it outright. But still, the story survives. Why? Because parts of it connect to other clues and unanswered questions that are very real. Let's start with satellite imagery. If you go looking for high-resolution satellite photos of the North and South Poles, you'll notice something odd. They're incomplete, blurred, or simply missing. Google Earth? Often edited, with huge circular cloud covers or odd black voids where the poles should be. Now sure, scientists say this is due to orbital limitations, map projections, or data stitching errors. But conspiracy theorists ask, if we can map every street in your neighborhood, why can't we get a clean, unbroken photo of the poles? What's being obscured? Next, access. The Antarctic Treaty was signed in 1959 by 12 countries, now over 50. It basically says no country can own Antarctica, and the land can only be used for peaceful, scientific purposes. Sounds noble, right? But here's the twist. Access to Antarctica is heavily restricted. No one can just fly there freely. Tourism is limited and tightly controlled. Independent exploration? Almost impossible. Ask yourself, what else on Earth is protected like that? Why such intense control over a frozen, barren land? Unless there's something down there worth protecting or hiding. Here's where it gets weirder. Historical maps, some going back centuries, depict a hole at the North Pole. The Mercator map from 1595 shows 4 rivers converging into a massive whirlpool at the top of the world. In the center, a mysterious island called Rupes Nigra, surrounded by cliffs and leading into the earth. Crazy? Maybe. But think about this. How did they even imagine such a thing, unless they'd heard stories? Could ancient sailors or explorers have glimpsed something, passed down tales of strange polar phenomena? And what about the aurora borealis, the northern lights? Scientists explain it as charged particles from the sun reacting with Earth's magnetic field. But ancient cultures believed it was light escaping from inside the Earth. What if they weren't entirely wrong? Let's circle back to Admiral Byrd. In a televised interview after Operation High Jump, he said this: "The most important result of our observations is the discovery of an area as big as the United States that has never been seen by a human being, beyond the pole." Beyond the pole. What does that mean? Is it just vague wording? Or was he referencing something he wasn't allowed to fully explain? He died in 1957, but his name remains at the center of one of the most enduring mysteries of our time. Look, we're not saying there's a giant hole at the pole that leads to a magical underground world, but we don't have full access to the poles. We don't have clear satellite images. We don't know what's under the 2-mile thick ice. And we have centuries of maps, myths, and military whispers all pointing to something strange at the ends of the earth. Coincidence? Convenient storytelling? Or concealed truth? Maybe the earth isn't flat. Maybe it isn't even hollow the way some believe. But what if there is something underneath? An ancient world, a forgotten passage, a secret kept under layers of ice, silence, and treaties. See, steady, mysterious, fading into wind again. Coming up in part 4, we'll follow the technology. Why do some of the world's richest elites build underground bunkers? Why are governments investing billions in deep earth tunnels? Is it survival prep or something deeper? Dig with us, because sometimes the best way to understand the world around you is to ask what lies beneath. Part 4, why are we digging? Elites, governments, and the underground rush. Let me ask you something simple. Why is everyone digging? Governments, billionaires, tech giants, they're not looking to build skyscrapers anymore. They're going down. Underground bunkers, underground cities, deep earth drilling tech, and it's happening everywhere. Quietly, quickly, expensively. So what's going on? What do they know that we don't? And could it connect to the theory we've been exploring that something is hidden beneath us? Tonight we follow the money, the machines, and the motivations to understand the strange, silent obsession with what's under our feet. Let's start with something public, something real. The U.S. government has a known facility called Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado. Built deep inside a granite mountain, it was designed to survive nuclear war. It's not alone. From Raven Rock in Pennsylvania to Mount Weather in Virginia, the U.S. has an entire network of classified underground facilities, many of them built during the Cold War. And here's the thing, they're still operational. They're maintained, staffed, upgraded. Why? If these were Cold War relics, wouldn't we mothball them? Instead, we keep them ready, as if someone is expecting to use them. Now let's zoom out, globally. In Switzerland, the military has over 26,000 bunkers hidden in the Alps. In Russia, vast underground metro systems double as fallout shelters, with levels the public never sees. In China, a reported underground Great Wall stretches hundreds of miles, housing missiles, bunkers, and command centers. But this goes way beyond governments, because now the billionaires are digging too. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, all of them have invested publicly or through shell companies, in underground technology, shelters, or real estate near known subterranean facilities. And we're not talking panic rooms, we're talking full-scale, multi-level luxury bunkers, private water supplies, air filtration, hydroponic farms. Some even simulate natural light cycles to mimic the sun. Why? They say it's for emergencies, pandemics, war, climate collapse. But others ask, what if it's about something deeper? Literally. What if they know there's space down there? Not just to survive, but to escape. Now, let's talk about the Boring Company. You've probably heard of it. Elon Musk's startup, originally pitched as a traffic solution, digging high-speed underground tunnels beneath cities like Las Vegas and Los Angeles. But some experts have noted the tech is overbuilt. The tunneling machines are military grade, and the company is quietly buying up land in strange areas, including in West Texas, where there's little traffic to avoid. Why spend billions digging deep in places with no traffic problem? Unless the real reason isn't transportation, but access. Access to what? Tone shifts darker. Here's a chilling thought. What if the hollow earth theory isn't completely right, but not completely wrong either? What if it's not about a giant cave world with dinosaurs and cities of light, but massive underground voids, geological anomalies, hidden chambers deep below? Geologists call them subsurface anomalies, seismic shadows, areas where waves behave strangely, slowing, scattering, disappearing. Some are explained as magma pockets, others remain unexplained. Now imagine this. What if you could reach one? What if you already have? Wouldn't you want to control it, protect it, claim it before anyone else does? There's precedent for this. In 2014, Russian miners in the Ural Mountains reported hitting a hollow pocket at over 12,000 feet deep. They claimed strange pressure changes, faint sounds. Their reports were sealed. In 2017, engineers in Turkey, working on a subway tunnel, accidentally uncovered a massive underground city, later confirmed to date back over 5,000 years. And in 2020, scientists discovered a subglacial lake beneath Antarctica. That was warm, liquid, and moving. Liquid water, under 2 miles of ice. How? What's heating it? Who's watching it? Low thud, like something heavy moving below. Here's what we do know. Powerful people are preparing for something underground. They're not telling us why. And the deeper we dig, literally, the more we find things no one expected. So what if the rush to build bunkers and dig tunnels isn't about escaping disaster, but about reaching something? What if the hollow earth theory isn't just myth, but a misunderstood version of something real? A network of ancient voids, a hidden ecosystem, or a relic of civilizations before us? Maybe not hollow, but not solid either. In Part 5, we dive into ancient architecture. Why are some of the oldest and most mysterious buildings on Earth connected, not by style or era, but by depth? We'll explore the secrets of Derinkuyu, Petra, the pyramids, and ask, did ancient people know about the world beneath? Did they come from below? Or were they trying to get back in? Part 5, Messages in Stone. Did the ancients know? You know what's strange? Some of the most mysterious places on Earth aren't hidden. They're right in front of us. Tourist attractions, postcard material. But when you really look at them, you start to wonder, how were they built? Why were they built where they were? And most importantly, why underground? Today, we're digging into ancient architecture, structures carved into the earth, beneath it, through it. Because if our ancestors truly knew nothing of a world below, then why does their stonework seem to whisper otherwise? Let's start in Turkey, with a place few people even know exists. Derinkuyu. It looks like just another sleepy town in Cappadocia. But under the surface, a multi-level underground city, carved out of soft volcanic rock, over 18 stories deep. Enough space for 20,000 people, including animals, food, water, and even ventilation shafts. It's not a bunker, it's a metropolis. And the craziest part, we have no idea who built it. Mainstream archaeology suggests early Christians used it to hide from Roman persecution, but the stone shows signs of much older excavation, thousands of years earlier. So here's the question. Why go through all that effort? Why not just build on the surface? Unless they were trying to get away from something. Or maybe get closer to something. Let's head south to Petra in Jordan. You've probably seen it, the famous rose-red city carved into canyon walls. It's majestic, breathtaking, a marvel of design and precision. But look closer. Much of Petra is underground, hidden in the stone. There are chambers and halls that seem to descend endlessly. Some of the doorways lead nowhere, just dark passageways into deeper rock. Could it be symbolic? Or were they tapping into something far more ancient, a connection with the earth itself? Now across the ocean to South America. The Inca built Machu Picchu high in the Andes. But before the Inca, in places like Ollantaytambo and Sacsayhuaman, someone else worked the stone. Massive blocks, weighing tens of tons, were fitted together so precisely, not even a razor blade fits between them. And many of these sites feature tunnels, caves, passages, some of which have never been fully explored. And guess what? The Spanish conquistadors, upon arriving, reported rumors that the native people once emerged from underground cities, guided by gods or protectors from below. Sound familiar? Now Egypt, the pyramids. We think we know them. But what's underneath them? In 2017, a team of Japanese and French scientists discovered a massive void inside the Great Pyramid of Giza using muon tomography. They still don't know what's in it. There are also tunnels beneath the Sphinx, chambers under the sands that haven't been opened in thousands of years. And the Temple of Seti I in Abydos, it has a mysterious Osirian structure, sunken deep below ground level, made of massive granite blocks that predate the temple itself. Why bury it? Or more accurately, why build around something that was already below? Cue eerie low-frequency hum. In cultures around the world, from the Hopi in North America to the Dogon in Africa to the Nagas of India, there are stories of people who came from below. Refugees, survivors, visitors. They didn't fall from the sky. They rose from the earth. They brought knowledge, taught languages, built monuments, and then they vanished. Let's ask the uncomfortable question. What if humanity's real origin, or at least part of our forgotten history, lies underneath? What if the sudden appearance of advanced engineering, astronomy, and mathematics wasn't the result of trial and error, but inheritance? Passed down, or passed upward. Maybe these ancient underground cities aren't just hiding places. Maybe they're markers, coordinates, gateways, built by people who knew the earth wasn't solid, who knew it was alive, with chambers, tunnels, and secrets running through it. The quiet clink of stone shifting. Here's a thought. If you were an ancient civilization with advanced knowledge and you saw a disaster coming, war, a comet, a pole shift, what would you do? You'd go underground. You'd preserve what mattered, your people, your knowledge, your technology. And when the dust settled, maybe you'd come back up. Or maybe you'd decide it's better not to. We always assume the ancients were obsessed with the sky, the stars, the heavens. But maybe we've been looking in the wrong direction. Maybe the true mystery is below. And maybe they were trying to tell us, not with words, but with stone. Coming up in part 6, we explore modern-day explorers, scientists, and whistleblowers, people who claim they've been underground, and not just in caves, but in something else. Stay with us. The truth, they say, is stranger than fiction. But when it comes to what's under the earth, fiction might be closer to the truth than we think. Part 6, Voices from Below, Whistleblowers, Explorers, and Encounters. Sometimes the loudest truths are whispered. You won't find them in textbooks, you won't hear them on the evening news, but they're there, scattered across interviews, leaked documents, buried in military files, and fictional memoirs. Stories from people who claim to have been underground, and not just in caves or mines, but in something else entirely. A different world, a hidden system, a place where science, secrecy, and the unknown collide. Welcome to Part 6, Voices from Below. Let's meet the people who say they've seen what we haven't. Let's begin with Phil Schneider, a name whispered in conspiracy circles for decades. Phil was a geologist and explosives expert who claimed he worked for the U.S. government, building deep underground military bases, or DUMBs. In a series of talks in the 1990s, he said he helped construct a base beneath Dulce, New Mexico, and accidentally discovered something terrifying, an underground city already occupied. According to Phil, when they broke through a chamber deep underground, they encountered non-human entities. A firefight broke out. He claimed to have been hit by a strange energy weapon, leaving visible burns on his body. He said dozens of soldiers were killed. The incident was covered up, and the base still operating. Phil was found dead in 1996, ruled a suicide. But many, including his supporters, believed otherwise. Next, Dr. Richard Sauter. A political scientist turned investigator, Dr. Sauter wrote multiple books exposing what he claimed was a vast network of underground tunnels and facilities, stretching not just across the US, but globally. He cited declassified documents, patents for high-speed tunneling machines, and strange military budgets. His argument? We've had the tech to dig massive underground complexes since the 70s, and we've been using it. But what makes his work stand out is this. He believes some of those tunnels don't lead to military bases, they lead deeper, to places outside government control, places that existed long before we arrived. Another story comes from a former Navy flight engineer, known only as Brian. In a rare 2006 interview, Brian claimed he flew classified missions over the South Pole. He described entering no-fly zones, then diving into what he called atmospheric voids. He said the terrain suddenly changed. Icy cliffs gave way to green valleys. He saw structures, beings, no radar return, no radio contact, and when they landed, they were told to forget everything. Gag orders, threats, silence. Sound familiar? That lines up eerily with what we heard in Part 3, Admiral Byrd's alleged secret diary. The green world beyond the pole, the message from the inner Earth too similar to ignore. But it's not just military. Civilians have stories too. In 2008, a spelunker named Gustavo from Argentina claimed he and his team found a cave system in Patagonia that felt wrong. He described hearing vibrations, seeing light with no source, and finding strange markings carved into the walls. Their gear malfunctioned. Compasses spun, GPS failed. Then they turned back. When he tried to publish his findings online, the posts disappeared. His blog was deleted. He received anonymous warnings. Stop digging. And then there's the weird tech, high-speed maglev trains that allegedly run beneath North America, Europe, and Asia, disguised as urban infrastructure or abandoned subway lines. Some insiders claim these trains connect black sites, secret labs, intelligence hubs, and places we aren't allowed to know exist. Could these tunnels also lead to something deeper? An ancient system co-opted by modern powers? Or is that just science fiction? Let's pause. Could all these stories be fake? Sure. Could these people be liars? Possibly. But if they are, why risk everything? Their jobs, their reputations, even their lives. Most of them gain nothing. No fame, no money, only ridicule, isolation, danger. Yet they keep talking, or they disappear. Let's bring in science. In 2015, researchers in Iceland discovered a network of massive lava tubes large enough to hold buildings. In 2021, a satellite scan revealed strange geometric anomalies beneath Greenland's ice, perfectly square cavities stretching for miles. And seismic data from the Himalayas shows massive, empty chambers moving slowly, independent of the Earth's crust. Officially, they're called density anomalies. Unofficially, they're cause for concern, because no one knows what they are, or what's inside. Now connect the dots. Secret tunnels. Missing data. Whistleblowers describing exactly what ancient myths have said for centuries. Are they crazy, or are we just not ready to listen? So here's the uncomfortable truth. We've barely scratched the surface of our planet, and the few who've gone deeper either say nothing or say things we're not ready to believe. Coming up in Part 7, we confront the biggest question yet. If there is something or someone beneath us, why hide? What are they afraid of? And who's really in control? Join us as the shadows grow deeper, because sometimes what we fear most isn't above us, it's below. Part 7, Why Hide? The silence below. Let's assume just for a moment that something is beneath us, something ancient, something intelligent, something still there. Then the next question isn't what it is, it's why we don't know about it. Why the silence? Why the cover-ups? Why the fear? If it's just myth, why censor it? If it's harmless, why hide it? Tonight in Part 7, we confront the deeper layer of this theory, the suppression. Because the truth might not just be buried underground, it might be buried on purpose. Let's start with a pattern. Every time someone gets too close to a hidden tunnel, to a strange cave, to a story that doesn't line up, they vanish, they retract, or they get discredited. We saw it with Phil Schneider, with whistleblowers from the military, with researchers trying to map unexplored cave systems and then suddenly losing funding. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just silence, a sudden drop in communication, a deleted blog, a broken link, as if someone's gently erasing the trail. And then there are the warnings. People who speak out often receive threats, not from shadowy men in black suits, but from official channels, IRS audits, revoked clearances, academic blacklisting. We've even seen it in entertainment, documentaries that get pulled, YouTube videos that disappear, conspiracy accounts that get banned, not for hate, not for violence, but for asking the wrong questions. Why is this topic so sensitive? You can question the moon landing, you can claim the earth is flat, you can believe in reptilian overlords, but mention underground civilizations, and suddenly you're dangerous. Why? Let's follow the money. Dozens of defense contractors are actively working on subterranean warfare, tunnel drones, seismic scanning, autonomous underground navigation. DARPA, the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, launched a program called the Sub-T Challenge in 2018. Its mission? To map, explore, and navigate underground environments that are dangerous or unknown. They say it's for disaster response and search and rescue. But insiders have said it goes further, that they're preparing for deep Earth operations in environments not made by humans. And here's something curious. The Sub-T Challenge ended in 2021. Quietly. No major press, no final disclosures, just done. What did they find? Now let's bring in the media blackout. In 2019, a group of hikers in the Ural Mountains claimed to have discovered a cave system unlike anything they'd seen before. They posted photos, videos, strange symbols carved into walls, a tunnel descending straight down for miles. Within days, everything was deleted, accounts scrubbed, files removed, and the original site, now behind a government fence. Local news called it a wild bear incident. But the photos, they showed no animals, just darkness, and questions no one's allowed to ask. Low static, a distant metallic creak. What if this secrecy isn't just about fear? What if it's about control? Think about it. If people knew there was an entire system beneath the surface, ancient, unexplained, possibly inhabited, how would governments maintain power? How would religion explain it? How would science rewrite itself? The hollow earth doesn't just challenge geology. It challenges everything, our origin stories, our sense of reality, our place in the universe. Maybe they're not hiding it because it's dangerous. Maybe they're hiding it because it's true. Let's not forget the psychological effect. In 2020, a classified psychological operations manual was leaked online. It referenced geographic destabilization, the idea that people can lose trust in institutions when their understanding of the world is shaken. Now imagine the hollow earth were proven real. What happens? Panic, mass confusion, collapse of trust in science, government, even religion. So the choice becomes, reveal the truth or keep the system intact. And maybe, just maybe, some believe the cost of truth is too high. Music softens, slow heartbeat-like pulse in background. Here's a darker possibility. What if we're not the top of the chain? What if something down there still watches us, guides us, manipulates us, or simply waits? Maybe the secrecy isn't to protect us from the truth. Maybe it's to protect them from discovery, because once we go too deep, we might find something we were never meant to see. And once that door opens, you can't close it. Music fades into solemn quiet. So now the question is no longer, is the earth hollow? But what's really being hidden by who? And most of all, why? Coming up in part 8, we explore the idea of contact. What if we've already made contact with beings from the inner world? Messages, symbols, unexplained signals, and visitors that don't come from the sky. Next time, we go from the underground to the unknown. Part 8, Contact from Below. Visitors, messages, and the inner ones. We've always looked to the stars for answers, to the sky, to space, to distant galaxies we'll never touch. But what if the real aliens are right here, below us? Not visitors from above, but neighbors from within, beings who have been watching us longer than we've even known to look. Tonight in part 8, we explore the unthinkable. What if we've already made contact with those who live beneath the earth? Let's go back, way back. Almost every ancient culture has legends about beings that live underground. The Hopi tell of the ant people who guided humanity through catastrophes and protected them below the surface. The Tibetans speak of Shambhala, a hidden inner world of peace and advanced knowledge. Hindu texts describe Patala, a vast subterranean realm inhabited by serpentine beings. Even in Norse mythology, there's Svartalfheimr, the realm of the dark elves deep below the earth. These stories span continents, centuries, and languages, and they all describe the same things: tunnels, gateways, beings of light, warnings from below. Coincidence or testimony? Fast forward to the 20th century. In 1943, during World War II, the Nazis launched an expedition to Antarctica, allegedly searching for something more than just resources. Decades later, declassified Soviet documents referenced strange interior structures found beneath the ice, along with ancient symbols that didn't match any known language. Some researchers claim that communication attempts were made, and something responded. Let's talk frequencies. In the 1990s, a mysterious low-frequency sound was recorded across the Pacific. Scientists called it the bloop. It was massive, loud, deep, too big to come from any known sea creature. Officially, it was an ice quake. Unofficially, some oceanographers admitted it sounded organic, like a vocalization. Other signals followed. In 2003, an underground seismic station in South America picked up a pattern, a pulsing rhythm unlike any tectonic activity. Researchers filtered the signal and were stunned. It resembled a language, not human, not machine, something else. The data was seized by military authorities. The station was quietly shut down. No explanation given. Now let's shift to eyewitnesses. In 1981, a caver in the Carpathian Mountains reported descending into a shaft that seemed endless. After hours, he claimed to hear voices, not echo, but conversation in a language he didn't recognize. Then, he blacked out. When he awoke, he was back near the entrance. His watch was missing, his food untouched, and there were symbols etched on his climbing rope. He never went back. But years later, the same symbols were found in an ancient Sumerian temple. Coincidence or a connection? And then there are the dreams. Yes, dreams. In 2012, a group of researchers in Iceland compiled interviews from over 150 individuals living near volcanic cave systems. Many reported similar dreams. Beings emerging from glowing tunnels, voices speaking of balance and destruction, a repeated phrase, "You forgot the door." They hadn't spoken to one another. Different ages, different backgrounds, but they all remembered the same message. What if those dreams weren't dreams? Contact doesn't always mean blinking lights and flying saucers. Sometimes it's a whisper, a vibration, a signal in the static. Maybe they've tried to reach us, not with technology we understand, but with something older, deeper, a resonance. Let's return briefly to Admiral Byrd. In his alleged secret diary, the one that surfaced years after his death, he describes meeting tall advanced beings in the inner earth. They called themselves the Ariani. They warned of humanity's destructive path, of nuclear war and environmental collapse. They didn't offer salvation, only a message. Your surface world is unbalanced. You have forgotten harmony. You must remember before it is too late. Sound like fantasy or prophecy? So what happens now? If beings are beneath us, why don't they show themselves? Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they're watching us. The way we watch wild animals, curious, cautious, detached. Or maybe they already have shown themselves through messages, symbols, sounds, waiting for us to listen. If contact has already happened in dreams, in caves, through frequencies and symbols, then the next step isn't to dig, it's to tune in, to open our senses, to recognize the signs. And most of all, to ask the question we've been too afraid to ask. What if we're not alone, not just in space, but right here, beneath our feet? Coming up in part 9, we dive into the strangest possibility yet. What if some of us humans aren't truly from the surface? Are some people descendants of the inner earth, hybrids, emissaries, sleepers? Don't miss what might be the most controversial episode yet. Part 9, the surface descendants. Are some of us from below? We spend our whole lives assuming we belong here, that we're part of the surface world, that we come from it, that this planet, this version of it, is all there is. But what if we're wrong? What if not all humans are from the surface? What if some of us were born here, but our roots come from somewhere deeper? Tonight, we explore a possibility that will disturb some and awaken others. Could it be that some humans today, walking among us, are actually descendants of the inner earth? Let's start with the oddities. Throughout history, there have been people who don't fit the pattern, individuals with unusual genetic markers, strange resistance to disease, hypersensitivity to sound or frequency, an uncanny instinct for subterranean navigation despite never being trained. In 1997, a group of anthropologists studying remote tribes in the Amazon documented a small group with elongated skulls, pale skin, and unusually advanced understanding of underground river systems. They claimed to be from below and described the Earth as having multiple layers of people. The team published initial findings, and then nothing. Their funding was pulled, they refused interviews, and their lead researcher disappeared. Now let's look at genetic anomalies. In recent decades, scientists have found unexplained gene sequences in isolated populations across the globe, from Nepal to Siberia to the Andes. Some of these sequences do not appear in any known human ancestor. No Neanderthal, no Denisovan, no Homo sapiens group. They're just there. What are they? Where did they come from? One theory, ancient human variants. Another, non-surface origin. In 2004, a man named Elias was arrested at a European airport. No ID, no passport, no digital record. He spoke 6 languages fluently, had fingerprints that didn't match any database, and he claimed, calmly, repeatedly, that he was from the inner arc. He was evaluated for mental illness, but the doctors couldn't find anything wrong. And then he was transferred to a facility. Gone. No records. His case, redacted. Whistleblowers from the intelligence community have since claimed that people like Elias exist in more places than we think. Quiet, intelligent, observing, almost studying us. Here's another clue. Missing time, not just from individuals, from entire groups. Whole villages vanishing overnight, ancient civilizations disappearing without a trace, like the Olmecs, the Anasazi, the Indus Valley people. Some believe they were wiped out, but others suggest they went inward, voluntarily, a retreat, a return. Let's bring in the birth anomalies. There are recorded cases, kept quiet but real, of children born with unusual light sensitivity, full awareness before language acquisition, abilities to mimic complex sounds like seismic vibrations before age 2. These children often feel uncomfortable in crowded cities. They report dreams of underground gardens, crystal walls, and beings with glowing eyes. Parents are told it's imagination, but when researchers cross-reference stories from different countries, different languages, they find the same images, over and over, like memories that don't belong here. Now let's flip the script. What if we're not alone among humans? What if some of the leaders we follow, the inventors we admire, the minds we can't understand, are not fully surface-born? Maybe that explains their brilliance, their calm under pressure, their secrecy. In every era, there are those who seem to shape the world in ways no one else can. Maybe that's not coincidence. Maybe that's assignment. Let's go back to the whispers in ancient texts. The Book of Enoch speaks of watchers who came not from the sky, but from beneath the earth. They taught men wisdom and mingled with the daughters of men. In the Mahabharata, there are references to Nagas, serpent beings who lived underground, intermarried with surface kings, and ruled with both mystery and mercy. Even Plato's story of Atlantis, some believe it wasn't a continent that sank, but a civilization that descended, literally, into the planet. So if there are inner Earth descendants among us, why stay hidden? Why not speak? Maybe they are speaking. Maybe their job isn't to reveal, but to guide, to watch until we're ready, to protect something we're not yet allowed to understand. Or maybe they're here for something else, to warn, to prepare, to return. What would change if you found out you weren't truly from the surface? Would it explain your dreams, your fears, your sense that something has always been missing or waiting? Maybe the people who feel most out of place in this world are the ones whose souls remember another, from below. Coming up in part 10, our final chapter, we put it all together, the legends, the tunnels, the warnings, the watchers, and we ask the ultimate question, what's next? Part 10, the final descent, what lies ahead beneath our feet? 10 parts, 10 descents, from ancient legends to forbidden tunnels, from modern whistleblowers to whispers in your dreams. We've explored every corner of the Hollow Earth theory, and yet somehow it still feels like we've only scratched the surface. Tonight, we take the final step, not into certainty, but into possibility, because the deeper truth isn't just beneath our feet, it's inside us. Let's take a breath and remember, everything we've uncovered isn't just theory. It's not just myth or folklore, it's evidence. Pieces of a puzzle that, when put together, form a picture too strange to ignore. Ancient texts describing inner realms, underground cities built before history, secret tunnels sealed off from the public, scientific anomalies deep within the Earth's crust, contact stories censored by governments, whistleblowers who vanished, and a sense, in so many of us, that we've been lied to, that something is missing from our world's story. Maybe something buried. Let's ask one final question. What if it's all true? What if the Earth isn't a solid ball of molten metal, but a layered, breathing, inhabited organism? What if there are chambers, cities, civilizations, not myths, but realities? What if we, surface dwellers, are just one version of humanity? The noisy ones, the reckless ones, the ones who forgot. And what if the ones below are older, wiser, watching? Let's revisit a moment from part 3, Admiral Byrd's alleged encounter. A peaceful people deep within the earth, warning us, not threatening us. Their message? You are out of balance. You must remember who you are. Not exactly your typical alien invasion speech. No demands, no violence, just concern. Maybe they're not aliens at all. Maybe they're family. Let's entertain one last theory, the wildest one yet. What if Earth's inner realm is not just another place, but a mirror, a reflection of our unconscious, a physical representation of the human soul? That's why it pulls us. That's why we're drawn to the deep, to caves, to myths, to the underworld. We don't dig just for gold, we dig for answers. Because maybe, just maybe, the hollow earth isn't about geology. It's about memory, origin, return. Let's not forget, even science is evolving. Mainstream models are starting to consider hollow pockets beneath the crust, pressure anomalies, subsurface oceans, massive cave systems deeper than we ever thought possible. We've only explored 5% of the Earth's ocean floor, and less than 2% of its underground networks. Think about that. We know more about the surface of Mars than what lies beneath our own planet. That's not a gap in knowledge. That's a choice. So now, the journey is yours. Do you believe? Do you question? Or do you feel something else? A sense that part of you already knew, already remembered, already longed to return to the warm dark, to the crystalline cities, to the stories passed down in dreams and myths and whispers. You've heard them before, you just didn't know where they came from. Until now. So maybe in the end, this theory isn't a theory at all. Maybe it's a calling, a map written in stone, in DNA, in story. The final descent isn't down a tunnel, it's inward. And the final question is yours to ask. What lies beneath your feet may just be the truth beneath your soul. Thank you for listening to the Hollow Earth Theory, Secrets Beneath Our Feet. We hope this journey opened more doors than it closed, raised more questions than it answered, and reminded you that sometimes the oldest stories hold the deepest truths, because somewhere beneath all the rock and dirt and silence, something is waiting. And now, you know how to listen. Thank you for spending your time with Listen and Imagine. We hope this journey sparked your thoughts and stirred your imagination. If you enjoyed this experience, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and leave a comment to let us know what you think. Your support helps Listen and Imagine continue to grow and bring more stories to life. Until next time, keep listening and keep imagining. Thank you.